Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're going to go back to some of those reels that I had previewed for you just the other day. And this one we're going to look at is the Daiwa Spinstar X 4000C. It's a 4000 series reel. It's not turning. We don't know what the problem is, but in our previews we noticed that we have a loose spool shaft, and it might be as simple as the screw came out of the cross block, or it may be something that says this reel is trash. But let's go find out. So we're going to start by pulling off the pieces that we can. I like to start by taking the spool or the handle assembly off, either one. But we'll strip this down. We'll get to the core of it. We'll see what makes this reel go. And we'll see where the fault lies in this particular one. This was a reel that was brought to me by a fellow at a flea market and said it stopped working. Didn't have any explanation for it other than it stopped working. So let's find out where the problem lies. So this one has a through handle. It has a screw set opposite the handle side, which holds onto the shaft and goes through the main gear. I'm going to pull that off. I'm going to put those into my parts tray that I like to use to keep everything together. The next thing up then should be the side plate, but I'm noticing that the side plate goes under the rotor, which means that we have to take the click mechanism off and the rotor before we can take the side plate off. So these two are held in by tension washers. They're little plastic washers. They're also shims, and sometimes you can pull them off by hand. Sometimes you need a little bit more leverage, but in this case the first one came off easy enough. And we're going to remember the sequence because there's a clear washer here, and there's a colored white one. The colored white one went up top. And that's a good time to let you know, if you're working on reels that you're not familiar with, and I'm certainly not familiar with this one, take pictures along the way. And when you take the pictures, you can stop as a record so that you know the sequence that the pieces and parts came off in. And as you go to reinstall, and hopefully we'll be able to fix this one and reinstall, it'll give you the guide path back if you get stuck. So we've just taken off the two shim washers, or tension washers. We've taken off the click rotor, and we've taken off the nut that holds on the rotor. We can remove that. This is old school technology. This does not have an instant anti-reverse. Rather, it has the anti-reverse dog and a catch rotor here for that. So in the price range by today's standards, the reel is probably a little bit less expensive in the scheme of where Daiwa is. Also looking here, we've got a problem here with a nut that's supposed to hold a collar down, I guess, but that doesn't look like it belongs that way. It's partially threaded. We'll have to take a look at that. But let's get underneath here and let's go back and find out why this thing keeps jumping up and down. And we have the three case screws, but then we have a fourth one here. So that's always a reason why you want to do it in the sequence I did it. If you just took the three out, your case wouldn't move. You might be subject to frustration, start cranking away on this one and break the case because of this hidden screw up top here. So I'm going to take all four screws out then, and that'll lead us to who knows where, but I'm going to lay these down just to make sure that they're all the same size. So that first one out is a very long screw. It's threaded. The second one is more traditional from a graphite case. The third one, we'll see where this one goes. It looks like we may have screws that are all the same length, which would be nice. But sometimes they're different, so we want to make sure. Right now it looks like all four are the same, but I like to lay these out just to make sure before we throw them in the parts basket there, because if you throw them in a parts basket and one of them is different, then when you go to reinstall you're in trouble. These all four have the same threading, have the same length, so they can go on my parts tray. Now we can take this piece off and see what's going on inside. So what we have here is a trashed reel. We have a broken crosswind block that appears to be beyond repair. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on this one. We'll take it apart to show you what it is, but unless we can find a replacement crosswind block for this, this reel isn't going anywhere. So Let's just pull it apart. Once you have the crosswind block out, and this one was held in with a screw, so we got to take the screw out on the axle shaft here. That would be the reason why you had the floating spool. Sometimes you find this, right? You think maybe it's an easy solution. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes these simply become parts reels. So we've taken that off. And what I'm doing now, I'm going to go in here and just assess damage, because if there is a chance that we can get this replacement part, then the reel most likely can be rebuilt. So the main gear is in good condition. I'm just checking the teeth, and it doesn't look like any of the parts that broke off the crosswind block got in trouble there. There are some pieces here on the crosswind gear. I'm going to try and pull that crosswind gear out. I'll use needle nose pliers for that. And then I'm still a little bit concerned up top here. This just doesn't seem to make sense. So let's go ahead and pull this off. And that's, for some reason, that came loose. That should be down here like the other one is, holding that bearing in. So let's just go ahead and tighten that up. So that says somebody probably was servicing this reel, got to a certain part, realized it was a crosswind block and just gave up on it. But that's tightened down again. Then we can just simply put this back on. But those pieces look to be in good stead. And put the crosswind gear back in. Put the main gear back in. No sense putting the axle shaft on, because in this case it's not going to work. I'm just trying to reset the case. And what I'll do is I'll put this back together, sans the axle shaft, and we'll go online. We'll see if we can order a crosswind block for this reel. If we can, then it's a simple reinstall. If we can't, then the owner will have a parts reel with a spare spool for something if the time comes to it. But you don't always have success the first time. This was a reel that was brought to me at a flea market where somebody purchased it for a couple of dollars, thought that it might be a simple fix, and asked me if I couldn't spend some time trying to figure out what's wrong with it and repair it if I could. And this is repairable. It's a matter of finding that crosswind block. And not every reel, but there are a lot of reels in different series that use similar internal parts. So even if it's not available as a replacement part any longer, we may be able to find it as a one that came from a different reel, like a Regal or something, for example. And we're just going to put this back as best we can without that axle shaft. We'll put it in a plastic bag, and we'll make sure that that everything works for the repair. Okay, so lessons learned. Sometimes these things are easily fixed, sometimes they are parts reels. At the end of the day, it's always nice to see what the cause of a problem would be. But now we've got a reel that's turning, albeit without that crosswind block is just wobbling in there, but we've got a turning reel again, so we know that the crosswind block is the problem. We're going to take that, as well as the pieces that remain in my basket there. We're going to go out into the parts sites for Daiwa. There's two primary ones. There's Mike's Wheel Repair in Vancouver, Canada, and there's e-replacement parts. We'll see if we can find this crosswind block, and if we can, we'll repair the reel. If we can't, then it was worth noting that that's a failure point in these particular reels. So with that, lessons learned, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Thank you. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.